everyone, welcome to Laura Morrow Blogs. And today we have a very special guest, which his name is Eric Decker. Hello, Eric. How are you?
Hey, how you doing today, Laura? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you for accepting the invitation to come and
You got it.
about this information in this show. So tell us, Eric, who's Eric Decker?
Well, first I'll just jump right in. It's actually Hecker with an
Oh,
with an
Hecker.
H. You got it, no problem. Um, Basically, just I'm a guy that grew up in Levittown, Long Island, and I worked my way through the trades as a plumber and heating specialist. I got really good at that, and that skill set brought me down to the South Pole Station in Antarctica, where I was able to spend a year down at the facilities. Had a key that got me inside every door that was there, and I got to speak to every compartment and every person that was inside their little compartment, and I got to see a big picture that most people weren't privy to. And ever since I realized what's really been going on down there, I've kind of been, screaming from the mountaintops, beating a drum, so to say, figuratively, trying to get people to understand how much the world has changed around them. And they're, you know, confused as to what the state of the union is, so to say, and what the real threats are. And there's so many things that the mass media is dangling in front of them and saying, be afraid of this and be afraid of that. And those things mean nothing. Those are the games that they play to keep people's attention. And as you know, someone who works with energies, that we as individuals inherently have a particular energy. But when you take us together, arm in arm, in intention together with intention, our energies grow exponentially. But through outside forces, in many ways, dividing us all the time so that we ourselves don't integrate. Instead, what they do is they take over our minds so that locally we're all arguing with each other. But in reality, on certain levels, we are all thinking about the same things. The things that was in the TV show last night, the thing that was on the commercial, on the television, or on the radio, or the thing that just popped up in an ad. It's very easy now to invest a certain amount of money and then know that you can get a certain amount of psyches to be giving their attention, their energy to that idea. And that's what's going on in the world around us right now, is that, we have these cell phones and these computers and things, and in reality, it's somebody else's intention being applied to us all in mass. And they're stealing our creative ability by controlling our attention. It's like when a horse has blinders on, then the rider has control of what that horse does and what that horse sees. And that's what technology is now. It's the blinders that guide us. And that's what's happening in the world right now. And I just so happen to have found a technology down at South Pole Station that just seems to be the most nefarious technology out there. The ice cube neutrino detector is not just simply listening, passively looking, so to say. It has the ability to transmit on a very savage level. And the folks that I've been talking with, behind the scenes, before I disclose this information, and then now publicly in front of the world, this seems to be a multifaceted, very dangerous directed energy weapons system. But this is, that new scary front edge of the conversation that nobody's really willing to have, unfortunately. Except folks like
Yes.
Laura.
Yeah, except like us, like Michael Sala. I know I saw your interview with Michael Sala with
Mhm.
uh, Stephen Greer
Mhm.
and many more. It was very interesting to me to find out that you went over there. How long did you work over there at the South Pole?
I I spent 366 days straight in Antarctica, and that
And
was in November of 2010 until November of 2011.
Wow. So it's been that long then.
Hmm.
And how did you discover this technology, this neutrino detector?
Well, I wouldn't say I just, I mean, I was
It was just
contracted
there
to
in plain
work
sight.
on it. I mean, it was physically, it was a building that was present on site that I was contracted to maintain.
Hmm.
Um, so it was, I had,
It was
free
just
access to it. It was my job. Go in there and make sure everything's running.
wow.
It was, I guess the discovery was in years later, um, the understanding of the duplicitousness of it, that there's more going on than what they presented at face value, which is pretty much par for the course. Anytime we see the United States federal government military industrial complex, science community doing stuff, um, if they're going to invest $1 million in something to do something, it doesn't do just one thing. It does this thing and that thing. Oh, and the other thing. Oh, and then the thing that we don't talk about, and then the thing we really
Hmm.
don't talk about.
Yeah.
You know, lots of times, the reason things get built is expressly for the reason that they don't talk about, and the rest of it's just a cover story.
Yes. Yes.
So a lot of
Like.
these facilities, a lot of science stuff is straight up, it's bullshit. It's a cover story so they can do other things. And
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's NASA, or oh, we're taking pictures of sea turtles at long range. No, they're looking for submarines or something like that.
Yeah. Or logging something on the ice and
Hmm. Hmm.
whatever other projects they got going. Um,
Hmm.
so you were saying in one of the interviews, I believe it was Michael Sala, that this technology, neutrino detector, it can it's probably working with intergalactic communication also, as well. I mean, it's working with a lot of things that
Yes, yes.
that
I did provide documentation in the archive section of my website.
mhm,
There's some science that shows that this is the type of technology that works off of what we know to be, quantum entanglement type tech that allows for faster than light communications. And this is, where I come in to provide real world supporting evidence for secret space program type operations. Everybody says, well, if this stuff was going on, then somebody would know something and somebody would say something and there would be some sort of tangible evidence. Well, here it is, folks. I went to the South Pole Station and I found the Earth's intergalactic communications device.
mhm,
It's a long story of complex technical stuff. But these are the things that I'm putting out there, is that other people like Gary McKinnon have exposed that there's an off-world fleet. Well, if it turns out that we have a fleet that's moving it faster than light, well, if we send them 100 light years away, how do we even know that they ever made it there? How do we know they're going to accomplish the mission? We need to have very special communications devices, and this is that.
yes, that's what I was really focused on, that intergalactic communication, because how do they
Mm-hmm.
communicate? How do they send images? How do they know what's out there? If we don't have
Yep.
the communication, then it's like sending somebody blinded. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like,
Absolutely. All the satellites that we have out right now, every investigation that we've sent out into the reaches of the cosmos, we've only gleaned information because of that same satellite's ability to communicate. Heck, we've even had a fistful of them go well beyond their service life, and all of a sudden communications show up from them out of the nowhere.
mhm, yes. And how do you think we got that technology,
Which technology?
the intergalactic communication, the neutrino detector? How do you think?
I don't know. I don't even know that much. I would say, I guess, about the intricacies of the technology. So I don't know
Mhm.
what I saw. It didn't seem off-worldly,
Yeah.
but what do I know about what off-worldly looks like? Maybe it just looks like our stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really a lot of stuff. I think we first and foremost, most people nowadays don't know how to build jack squat. They
Yeah.
don't know how to do anything with their hands. So they just have to take everybody else's word for it, which is very frustrating, because then the people that can build and can construct and can repair for some reason, are now looked down upon still in a society of knuckleheads that can't create or mend. But with that being said, I've seen a lot of stuff, and I think people would be really surprised at how rudimentary things can accomplish great deeds, lest we forget about giants of intelligence like Nikola Tesla, who simply took some copper and some magnets, arranged them in a sacred geometrical shape, and spun it. And that's how we get the phenomenon known as electricity.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that does not look like something off-worldly, but boy, was it an off-world item at the time that it was presented to the majority of humans on this planet. They would have considered it, almost UFO tech at that time. So I'm challenged when I see stuff that's very interesting to make a leap that, something off-worldly, needs to look like something we'd see in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Something could be very rudimentary and still be, I would say, a powerful off-world technology, because, we just don't understand so much stuff.
We don't. And that's why all these projects, the Montauk project, the remote viewing, all this stuff. So it's all interconnected. The telepathic abilities and all this stuff. But are we being bombarded with energies where we are not able to harvest our abilities? That seems that's what's happening. Or what do you think this is for?
I think that's been going on so many levels for a very long time. I believe that there are factions that do have an awareness of what our innate abilities are, and then in a manifold process, they are attacking every which way they can. Whether it's through the food that we eat, the air that we breathe, the lights that are hitting us, the sound frequencies. They know what's positive, they know what's negative, and they are certainly doing what I would say is the most that they can on every front to do something negative.
Yes. Speaking of sound frequencies, are you familiar with the George Van Tassel Integratron over here at Giant Rock, where he built?
Rings a bell. George Van Tassel rings a bell.
Van Tassel was with George Adamansky when they had contact with the Venusians, and George Van Tassel. Mm-hmm.
I think Van Tassel wrote emails to me.
Really?
I think I have an email exchange going on with him.
George Van Tassel is the person that constructed that time machine, which is called the Integratron. And now it's turning to, they give sound baths. I've been there. It's really interesting. And I've been to the Giant Rock, and I've recorded balls of light, spacecraft or whatever you want to call it. I've recorded triangular spaceship, I guess. There's a military base near there, and so that's very interesting. Now that you say that is
interesting, because I didn't really know exactly who the guy was. He reached out to me in a very supportive way, and we've had some communications about some things that I've said, and some of his past, like he alluded to, I guess, being a big name or something like that, but I didn't realize he had.
Well, you got to look into it.
I'll have to talk to him a little bit more, I guess.
Yes. Well, he's dead, but I don't know if he sent you. I don't remember when he died, but how long ago was this information?
It's the name that's ringing a bell. The person that wrote to me then worked with George Van Tassel then.
Oh, okay. So that's
this name is ringing a bell. This Van Tassel is ringing a bell. I think when you just
George Van Tassel and Ralph Ring.
Who's the other person?
Ralph Ring. I believe that's another person that had contact. Well, Ralph Ring worked with George Adamansky.
Okay.
And they built a UFO, and they were able to fly in it or whatever. But it's very interesting. because that's what they use. They use colors, and they use color frequency, and they use sound as well.
Hmm.
So it's very interesting that that neutrino detector can do all these things. And
Well,
with
it can do many things. I don't want to. I
yeah,
don't. You know, it can do so many things. I don't want to try to be the expert and say it can do this and do that. There's a few things that I've learned. There's a few other things that I consider that it can do, and then just of what I know of other facilities, you know, that's how they do things. Is they hide stuff right in front of folks, and they
yeah,
compartmentalize things, and they subcontract out. I mean, so like the HARP up here in Alaska, you know, they'll say, oh, they'll say, you know, well, it's run by the University of Anchorage, Fairbanks, or Anchorage, whatever the heck the academia is that's running it. Okay, cool. Who do they contract it to?
yes,
Right? So 1 week is it CIA gets the contract and it's run by the University of Fairbanks,
yes,
but operated on behalf of the CIA this week, and is it the DIA next week? And oh well, 1 week we have some science going on and some National Geographic folks taking pictures, you know, to make sure that we can discuss that it's science and it's not just simply blowing spaceships out of the sky.
yes, yeah. It all has to do with, well, with a lot of, I mean, we can talk about so many subjects about this neutrino detector, but you spoke about some symptoms that some people have had
Mm-hmm.
being exposed to this neutrino
Mm-hmm.
detector. Can you explain to us, for the people that don't know anything about this subject, can you explain to us what you think this machine is doing, or what evidence you have in your website regarding this? Uh,
I can try. Mostly this stuff just comes from my personal experience of seeing what was going on around me, and conversations with crew. A lot of it was private, so there's HIPAA protections. I'm not going to speak about people's health publicly that haven't spoken about it publicly.
yes.
But what is referenceable as far as public information, um, Havana syndrome is a referenceable set of ailments that right now the Department of Defense has put out an edict so that their employees, if they're suffering from Havana syndrome like symptoms, can run it up the chain of command and get help from the United States federal government because they're federal employees and they deserve getting help. That's the way that it works. But now, when I was down at the South Pole Station at the site of a directed energy weapons facility, so now that we were active, I believe that we were also suffering the attacks of other nations. During my winter stay, my winter site manager, Renee Nicole Dusseur, fell ill. She, I believed that she had a stroke. I don't think that she had a stroke. I think she was suffering Havana syndrome symptoms and was herself the victim of a directed energy weapons attack, either from us firing up the facility for the first time and getting it figured out. So it was either friendly fire and self-inflicted from our own facility, or it was another facility just returning fire, because now we were an active directed energy weapons facility. We transitioned, so the Ice Cube neutrino detector and the Adamson Scott South Pole International Elevated Station both were going from construction phase to operations and maintenance when I was present. I believe that was part of why I was hired for this transitionary period, because my resume supported previously taking construction companies and bringing them into the ability of having a effective service department. So I think that's part of why I got brought in, was that they were making this transition at that time.
Hmm. I think you were brought in because of that, but because of your background, as
Mm-hmm.
you joined the Navy
Mm-hmm.
in, when was it, 1994, I believe?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So you joined the Navy, and then you can you talk about that? You want to talk about that, the when you joined the Navy, or you just want to focus?
I can. I joined the Navy in 1994. Shortly after high school, I got into the submarine service side, which was extremely interesting. It was giving me uh, access to a portion of activity on our planet that was unbeknownst to most people. It was just it was the way it was. I was learning that I was way ahead of the curve. I would go home on weekends and consider how do I even talk to people that have no idea what's going on in the world around them. Um, but it was very challenging at the time because I was young and being privy to a lot of new things and technologies that were so ahead of the curve, and the things that happened to me in that process did not make sense at the time.
Mhm.
And even though in a way I'm making sense of them,
Yeah.
but it's not stuff that I can actually prove. I can only express to people that this is my experience, and there's nothing they can do to take away from my experience. But a lot of the Navy stuff, it's just my experience was wild. Um, I had missing time occur for the
Mhm.
first time that I was aware of when I was at the New London train station when I was still enlisted in the Navy, and I lost 20 minutes in the back of a cab with
Mhm.
a gentleman who had, let's just say, misidentified himself as the executive officer of United States submarine. And I knew he was lying, but I just wanted to see what was going on.
Yeah.
In my life, in my past, I've been called a habitual line stepper. So
Uh-huh.
this guy he was throwing a line out in front of me, and I wanted to basically see what was going on. But long story short, in that exchange, I lost 20 minutes in the back of a cab in New London, Connecticut.
This kind of reminds me of, I don't remember the name. I want to say, who was it? It's one whistleblower. It wasn't Max Pierce. It was that other one. I don't remember. But I heard that story where with the missing time, your story, and I also heard his story, and he said almost the same thing, the exact same thing. They invited him for a drink, for a beer, at a bar,
Mm-hmm.
and he drank the beer. He claimed they put something in his beer because he lost some time. So he had missing time. And then all of a sudden, he has all these things happening to him, which he got into a project that he was not aware of. And then he wanted to get out of it, blah, 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 whatever. Same thing that happens to most whistleblowers that are coming out. And
Yeah,
then,
there
yeah.
was another event that occurred in my little stint in the subservice where below building 518, which was a extremely secure building. It was a top secret security clearance building that we were attending for school.
Hmm.
And in the basement of that building, there was a Raytheon employee that I had gotten entangled with. And let's
Hmm.
just say, long story short, I had some issues that I was looking to attend to, and this guy was offering to assist. I had some problems with my chain of command. They didn't like me asking a lot of questions. I was, excuse me, I was more or less looking to separate from the Navy. And this Raytheon employee was saying that if I assisted him with his program, that separation could occur.
Wow. And it's so
And
hard. You can't, how do you do that? You can't really, once you enlist, you have to serve your time. How many years were you enlisted for?
I was originally enlisted for 6 years.
6 years. And how many years did you do?
I got out because I worked with the Raytheon employee on his program.
Oh. Nice. But then,
I've learned since. So since when I went to the basement and this guy pulled the curtain back on a chair that was very Montauk-y like looking from people's descriptions, I only have my vision of what I saw as the chair that I was going to help this Raytheon employee with. But
mhm,
long story short, my plan did work because you're right, it is challenging. Most people can't get out of the service.
no,
If they got 1 year enlistment, 2 year enlistment, 4 year enlistment, 6 year enlistment, yeah, you're right. Most people can't get out.
yeah,
I did.
yeah. So that's very interesting to me. And then the Raytheon,
Mm-hmm.
you worked at the South Pole with Raytheon,
That's
right?
that
That's good.
hiring. That was
Oh,
my
yeah.
hiring contract. Was Raytheon Polar Services.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I'm trying to connect the dots.
I think there's a solid connection right there. I think between
Yes.
Raytheon with what's going on in the submarine service and what
Hmm.
was doing with Raytheon and down at the South Pole Station and those types of technologies. I mean, I believe my whole entire life has just been a course that's been beset at my feet in front of me under this false sense of freedom of choice, when in reality, all of the choices were pre-planned.
Yes. Yeah, I believe so. That you were steered that that way, where
Mm-hmm.
okay, we're gonna. Well, you know how it works. We're
Mm-hmm.
gonna shut this door on him, but we're gonna open another door, and that's
Mm-hmm.
where that's
Mm-hmm.
where he's most likely gonna go. Very
I've
interesting.
heard from a fistful of other folks. They say that these programs that they don't ever really let you out per se. If you want out of one program, they just let you into another one.
Exactly.
And I've heard from other folks. They said, "Boy, you're gonna just wish that you never left the first room and went to the second room."
Wow, I've never heard that one, but yes, they close one door and then there's the other door open. I mean, there's many doors open, which is gonna lead you to the exact same point
Mm-hmm.
where you were gonna be going anyways. Because I don't believe in coincidences. I don't know about you, but I do not believe in coincidences. I believe we have a contract from the get go, from the time we're born until the time we die.
Hmm. I don't
Yeah.
know about that because that obliterates any chance of free will.
Well, do we have free will?
Yes,
Hmm.
all day long, 1,000%. That's the whole thing. That's the key thing. That's all this. That's all this environment is the application of intent. That's all you are, is the ability to make a decision. That's it. You are free will manifested.
And then, but we are made to believe that we don't have free will, that we
Exactly my
don't have
point.
free will.
Exactly. That's
Yes.
exactly my point. We are made to believe that we are anything but free will. We are free will. We
Yes.
are the manifestation of free will walking about the cosmos.
Mhm.
And through the application, this world that we're in right now, there's only one thing from when you wake up to when you go to bed, from the time that you're born until the time that you die. There's only one thing that you will ever control. Do you know what that is?
What?
Your intentions.
Mhm.
That's your ability to choose.
Yes.
Everything else will always fail you. Your hands, right? I'm 47 years old. I still can drop something. I never intend to drop something. I intend to pick things up. I don't intend to drop them. But after 47 years, I'm not even an expert in my own hands. So
Mhm.
how can I even begin to be concerned with the things outside of my body that I can't control?
Mhm.
I can't even control my own body, and that's of good intention. This whole time that we're here, the only thing we're trying to do is learn how to apply our intentions and get the right outcome. But what we learn in this playing field, this practice arena, is how challenging it is to put out an intention
Mhm.
and have the creation occur correctly.
Yes.
So
Very interesting.
this is like kindergarten for gods, for creators.
Mhm.
But in that capacity, there's other people that have taken over the nursery.
Yes. Very interesting, Eric. It's my wheels are just turning and turning and turning. So I have so many questions about that.
Go ahead, go ahead.
No, because I have to write them down and then think about it and all this stuff. I am
Mm-hmm.
very I want to say organized, and my way of thinking is my wheels turn, but they turn so fast that I have to slow down and then write them down and say, okay, what are you thinking? Like, wait a minute. There's all this
Take your time.
information.
Don't let me rush you.
Yeah, so I'm like, wait, we're probably gonna have to have another interview because I have after this interview, I know I'm gonna have a million questions.
You
So,
got it.
do you want to talk about the remote viewing or Stargate programs, or if you think or you know that you might be in one of these programs, these projects that are basically everything turns around this neutrino detector, kind of.
I don't know if the detectors. I don't know if it's connected to everything, but I do know that the remote viewing stuff
Mhm.
that seems to be coming as a recurring theme. I just did an interview yesterday with Tony Rodriguez and Natalie, who's a member of the remote viewing squad that they have over there, and it was because of a contact that she had made in her lucid dream state about something that I had posted, and there was a connection of images. So I wound up showing up in their remote viewing situation. And then I have another posting on my website. Actually, there was another remote viewing team that simply postulated the question, what is the source of Havana syndrome? And their remote viewing team was nailing the South Pole station and the ice cube neutrino detector. So I've been to the South Pole. I knew what it was that they were talking about. So I tried reaching out to the leader of that team to share my information to let him know that I can corroborate their viewing session. But unfortunately, my effort fell on deaf ears because that gentleman fancies himself an expert on the Stargate program. And since he doesn't have a document with my name on it in front of him, he reserves the right to call me a liar
Mhm.
because he says that he's read, I don't know, 17,000 documents on
Mhm.
the topic. So that makes him the expert. And since my name's not in it, I'm
Mhm.
a liar, according to him. And I found that wildly interesting because I can only imagine how many other pages of documents were not declassified.
Yes, yes,
You know,
and just because your name is not there, it doesn't mean that your name was. I mean, you were not there. You have the
I know,
experience, and
I know.
just because your name is
And
not there, we know how
and
this works.
yeah, it's. I basically would say that this character is a functional gatekeeper because I didn't contact him to discuss anything about my Stargate experiences.
Hmm.
I wanted to discuss his team's work and
Yes,
my experiences and how they connect. And what he certainly couldn't do was discount my experiences. So I guess he had to try to come from a different angle.
yes, yes. Yeah, there's a lot of gatekeepers. A lot of people that
Mhm.
don't know. There's a lot of gatekeepers where they're coming out with information, some information, and other information is just misleading the people um,
Mhm.
from getting too close to the information that we are trying
Yeah.
to.
And what
Uh,
they certainly won't let anything go is like they won't let my information go through them to their audience. That's what I mean by a gatekeeper, right? It's like Linda
yes.
Moulton Howe. Um, she fancies herself as an expert in Antarctica.
Mhm.
Maybe back in the day, this woman had some credibility. It's possible. I don't know. I didn't study the history of her. All I know is contemporarily, she's a con job. I tried talking to her about Antarctica and my experiences, and I learned that she's a gatekeeper. She
Mhm.
doesn't want to share the information I have. She wants to share with the public made up information from people that will not disclose who they are, that do not have documentation to provide. So, this is where the audience really, really needs to step up their game. They need to stop listening to people that can't support what they're saying when there are people that can. I get sometimes it's testimony versus testimony, and I get that's it's a hard nut to crack at that point for people to figure out who's telling the truth. But when you have one person that has no evidence and you have one person who has evidence,
Exactly.
if the audience can't figure it out at that point, I don't really know what to do with you all.
Yes. Yes. Because you have pictures, you have all the evidence, everything is in your website, and I'm gonna write your website information, all your information on the description box for anybody that wants to go look at your evidence, and they can research, they can do more research on their part and see who's who's
Mhm,
telling the truth, who has the evidence, who doesn't.
mhm,
And like you said, if you see the evidence and you hear somebody just talking about it,
mhm.
but saying, I don't have any evidence, come on. How
Yeah,
much technology do we have? Who
right.
has a phone that doesn't have a camera?
Here's here's reality, right? I've been to the South Pole Station. I saw the technology. I have pictures and video of my presence there. I have documentation about what this stuff can really do. That's reality. That's reality. Now we have the unreality since this truth is making it out there. We now have people that come up with unreal stories and unreal whistleblowers because they won't give their names. They won't give any documentation, any proof, no pictures, no. Oh, pictures were banned. Video cameras were banned. Those are lies because I got pictures and video. So
Hmm.
those people are lying. They like all these excuses and spiels and scam stories that the general public doesn't know is a lie. But I do because I was there and I have pictures and I have video. And everybody who's been to Antarctica brings a camera and brings a video camera because you can. And in the places where they tell you you can't, you do it anyway because they can't stop you. That's
Hmm.
reality because I know because I've done it in many places where they say not allowed to take pictures and video. You can't do that. And you know what I do? I take pictures and video because that's what people do in those places that really go to them.
Yeah, I mean, at least a picture where you've been to the place. I mean, you
Absolutely.
have a picture that you've been to the place.
I've had many employers where part of the contract is you are not allowed to take pictures and video at the job site. And you know what I do?
Mhm.
I take pictures and video at the job site with everyone else who's taking pictures and video at the job site.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there is this whole ban thing when these snake oil salesmen try to talk about places that they've been and they go, "Oh, it's so top secret that we couldn't take pictures."
There is some top secrets where they, I know the astronauts, they take all their film, their phones or anything, and if they took
Mm-hmm.
any pictures, they erase it. They erase it from their devices. There is some, but like you said, there is
Mm-hmm.
a lot of just people that are doing technical work or whatever they're working on. They have access to pictures and all that stuff. So I understand the part where some of them do have to abide to the rules, which is like the astronauts or anybody
Yeah,
else.
but these people are talking about a specific place that I've been to that I know the cameras aren't banned.
Yes. Hmm.
They're saying that they've been to Antarctica and you can't take pictures and video because they're banned in Antarctica. But I've been there and they're not banned and you can take pictures and video.
Yeah.
So
Listen, if you want to
this is
bring
where these people don't
evidence,
want to talk about because I was actually in the programs that are the secret programs and you can still have a camera. So the
hmm,
people that don't have pictures, I would say they're just lying. The people that don't have documents, they're lying.
yeah,
This is the problem with the community is that it's easy for infiltrators, for deceivers to get right into the mix, to get right up to the podium.
hmm,
To be a speaker at an event doesn't mean you're telling the truth.
hmm,
It means you have a better manager than someone else. It means you have more marketing money than someone else. It means you have a larger YouTube audience. It doesn't mean that they're telling the truth.
yes, hmm. And that's what I'm saying. Like when someone says, "I saw a UFO," and I'm like, "Where are the pictures?" I mean, usually there is evidence. There's pictures where you can take, even if you can't see it with your own sight. You can see it with other different technology that we have, the
And
infrared and stuff.
I get not everybody's going to catch everything every time. I mean, that's true too. It doesn't, just because someone says they saw it and they didn't get a great picture. I mean, that doesn't always mean that the person's a liar. Like, we're all trying to get into the right direction, right? But
Hmm.
I think it's very appropriate that we as a community strive for the best evidence available.
Exactly.
I mean, it makes the most sense if you're going to go if we're going to have a legal case and somebody's life is on the line. Well, if we have testimony over here and we have facts over here, well, which stuff is more important when this person's life is on the line?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's all I'm getting at, is that I'm trying to let the world know that our collective lives are on the line. There's a war for consciousness. There's a war for spirit.
Yes.
And there's technology that's attacking it. And
Mm-hmm.
this is new stuff. And I just want people to know that this is the hard reality. And we can't just keep sugarcoating this stuff forever.
Yeah. Mm-mm. It's time for it to come out and have people like yourself come and speak about it and tell the whole world about this information. What else do you want to talk about, Eric? Mm,
I think what I would like to emphasize with folks is that I don't want to be all doom and gloom, so to say. I do believe we have a massive problem, and it's going to take a massive effort, and it's going to be a terrible effort in winning. But I do want to remind everyone, I do believe we can win, but it's only through getting involved with this effort. It's like the fourth quarter of a football game and we're down, 7 touchdowns.
yes.
It's a hard fact to look at that scoreboard, But if you don't look, you're not going to get motivated to win, and then you'll never win. So I'm just trying to get people to look at the problem. Hey, folks, it's fourth quarter, we're down 7 touchdowns. And if you don't get your ass in the game, we're not winning. I do believe we can win if you get your ass in the game.
Yeah. We have to get more people involved. It's not just, okay, we're listening, we're watching everything that's going right in front of us.
That's passive activity.
Yeah.
That's absorbing information, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's listening. In many ways, I want people to stop listening to everything everyone tells them, including me, basically. People need to start doing, and they need to start doing what they think. They need to start thinking and figuring out for themselves. I don't have the answer on what to do. I identified the problem, right? So I think of it like, if I was on the street, right, and I looked across the street, down the street, and I look and I see, oh my God, that guy's about to punch Laura in the face. Mm-hmm. The only thing I can do is go, Laura, look out, be careful, you're about to get punched in the face.
Yeah.
All I can do is give you the warning. I can't help you at that point. You're going to have to figure out something, and fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's all I'm trying to express to people, is that I can't fix this problem for you. I can't take the punch. I can't stop the punch. I can only warn you that you're getting hit. And you have to figure out what to do about it. This is a know thyself situation, because they're attacking individual consciousnesses and spirits. I cannot speak on behalf of your consciousness and spirit. This is where every individual has to know thyself, understand the opponent, learn about this new type of attack, and figure out how to fend it off. It is a big challenge that we can do. We can do it quicker and faster if we do it together.
Yes, that's exactly what we try to talk about, these things to everybody, to all the audiences, not only the Spanish speaking people, but everybody. The whole world needs to know all this information, know thyself, like you say, and act on it.
¿Cómo se dice en español? Know thyself.
Know thyself, conócete a ti mismo.
Gracias.
Conócete a ti mismo. Sí. You speak a little bit of Spanish, you told me.
Un poquito.
Un poquito, yeah. But that was very good. Yes, so that's what we're trying to do, guys. For everybody that's watching us, learn and try to come together instead of fighting. Oh no, I don't like what that person said, or just try to come together. Come together, and we will win this. I believe we will win this. I really believe we will win this.
I think there's a fun activity that we can do as we're moving towards disclosure and integrating through unity. Is that it's so easy in conversations every day, right? To find the things, that we disagree upon, the details and stuff like that. And I think we could often get caught in those conversations about the dividing things. And I
Mhm.
think that's dangerous because I think we can rapidly pay attention to that society is doing that like as a constant trigger to throw out the divisive topics. But I think if we were to practice just dancing around those topics, right? So if you and I are talking about things and we start getting in the direction that and we start hitting the things that we disagree upon, just immediately sidestep that and go to the things that we do agree upon,
Yeah.
so that we can find common ground, so that we can just get to the shores of truth faster, and not get caught up in all the division. Because boy, oh boy, I feel like that is the easiest game for the mass media nowadays. You know, the
Oh yeah.
split second. I mean, there's got to be a way that they can like measure what's going on in society, like at 6 o'clock in the morning, and like, oh my God, everybody seems pretty cheery today. Quick,
Mhm.
put something on the news that's going to make everybody go at each other's throats.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. We have to learn to agree to disagree. That's
Hmm.
the bottom line. Agree to disagree.
Yes.
Talk about these subjects. I mean, without saying, "Oh no, you're wrong, you're right." Whatever, whatever your
Yeah, we
experiences
used to
are, they're your experiences.
we used to respect people having differences of opinion, and now we disrespect that.
Hmm.
And this
Yes.
is over the course of my life that I've seen this switch. That now, if you don't agree with almost everything
Yeah.
someone says nowadays, they will turn and look at you and tell you like you offended them somehow.
Yes. Yes.
You know?
That's what's going on right now,
Yeah, it's crazy because
and
I
all,
must be the most offensive person on the planet because I don't agree with almost anybody. So I
yeah,
guess that makes me like patently offensive
me
because
too.
I harbor original ideas that don't agree with anybody.
Exactly. Same here. Same here. And I like these conversations. I like to have these conversations. Maybe one day I will be able to get Tony, all of these whistleblowers that are speaking the truth, speaking about their experiences, and maybe some other people that don't agree with what anybody else is saying, but we can come together and people can see that, hey, if they can come together and they can agree to disagree, maybe people would do the same thing. Maybe they'll
Mhm,
do the 100 monkey where, okay, well,
mhm,
they're agreeing to disagree, maybe we can do the same thing in
mhm,
other groups or whatever, because I don't like that going against anybody else just because you have a different opinion or different experiences. Even with the experiences, if you have a different experience, you're like, oh no, I had this better experience or whatever.
mhm.
It's the same thing. Everything
Yeah,
comes to the same thing.
I agree that we shouldn't attack, as you said the word just because they have a difference, and I agree with that. We shouldn't go after people just because they have a different story.
Yeah.
But but I do believe that we should ferociously remove from the conversation people that we believe are liars, are
Hmm.
disingenuous, are
Yes.
profiteers, are still part of the trauma inducing programs, because all of these are still present in the conversation.
Yes.
And I am also thoroughly, thoroughly confused as to why nobody else is paying attention to this. I'm extremely concerned that we have all of these wolves in sheep's clothing present every day while everybody ignores that aspect of this conversation.
Yeah.
As if the alphabet agencies don't have podcasters out there acting like they're part of the sheep herd
Hmm.
that they're harvesting,
Yes.
right? Am
Yes.
I the bad guy because I bring up the conversation of, hey, who do you think the feds are?
Hmm.
Right? Everybody goes, oh, well, only a Fed would say that. Blah, blah, blah. Or concerned human.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
we know the feds are up to no good already. That's why we're having this conversation.
Yes. And a lot of people are afraid to talk about
Mm-hmm.
this
Yeah, I
topic.
think only a Fed would say that. I think that's how you know who the Fed is.
Yeah.
When a good citizen walks in and goes, we should figure out who the Feds are. Then all of a sudden the Fed jumps up and goes, only a Fed would say that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Counterintelligence, right?
Exactly. Counterintelligence, COINTELPRO.
Yeah.
That's what these guys are all about. And the average American has no idea that money invested in controlling these conversations.
Yeah. Same like the media. Yeah. Media
Mhm.
controls whatever we're going to talk about. If
Yep.
there's
During the
some,
Obama administration, there was something called the NDAA, which was signed, and that re-legalized the ability for the federal government to subsidize the news, which basically means the federal government is now the largest content creator on the internet.
yeah,
They get to make up news.
yeah, yeah. Well, we get to talk, us,
Mhm.
the people. We get to talk
Mhm.
among us, and hopefully they leave us alone and let us do our work too, our job, where we can tell the people all our experiences and without
Yeah,
being
absolutely.
punished about it. You know,
We'll
that's
keep
what.
fighting the good fight, Laura.
Yeah, we're fighting the good fight, and
Mhm.
hopefully this doesn't get any red marks or something. But Eric, any last message that you want to tell to the audience?
I just want everybody to understand that the world is right now way more technologically advanced than they have been allowed to understand, and that those technologies are being used against them. And I'm just trying to help everybody out with that info. I wish I had better news, but we have to step up for each other to do the right thing for ourselves, our children, our grandchildren. If not us and now, who and when will fight this beast? I don't
Exactly.
want to leave it for my kids and grandkids. Let's fight this thing now. Let's find where the front line of this war is that they're hiding, because
Yes.
that's what's going on. Is there is a war going on right now,
Hmm.
but nobody knows what to do because it's not like wars back in the day, where your troops show up and my troops show up and we go, oh, over there's the battlefield,
No.
and there's walking wounded coming back and forth and new troops going in. The face of the battlefield has changed. The battlefield is all around us every day. It's a
Yes.
battlefield of the mind and the war on consciousness and spirit. And there's walking wounded around us everywhere we look. But because we don't see bullet holes, we don't know that we've been shot. The
Yes.
weapons are different. The wounds are different. The warfare is different. But it's now. And we're losing.
Mhm.
Because if you don't know someone's shooting you, you don't know that you're getting wounded, your death is around the corner.
Yes. That's right. Thank you so much, Eric, for this
Thank you, Laura.
information. Thank you for this message. It really resonates with me. And I really hope that people listen and really start acting towards our freedom or just we are a target, and just remember that and focus
And
on that. What can you do about it? I have no idea. But
and if anybody has
it
any
has to start
questions,
somewhere.
do not hesitate to reach out to me. If your English is poor, I don't care. We'll work on it. My Spanish is poor, but I'm happy to try to work on it as well. So anybody out there, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'm trying to cross lines of communication always to get this information out there. So my Spanish is rusty, but I am always willing to practice. So we'll do what we
You
can.
can always call me and I'll translate for you and say, Laura, I have somebody that wants to interview me or whatever. I will be there and help you out
Ooh,
translating.
that's a fantastic. Thank you so much. If that ever occurs, I will totally take you up on that. Thank you.
Yes, yes. I'm here to help everybody
Mhm,
and anybody.
mhm.
And everybody knows that. So thank you so much, Eric. It was
Thank
a
you, Laura.
pleasure having you. And hopefully we'll have another interview because I know I'm going to have a bunch of questions and my audience is going to have a lot of questions too. So we'll have another interview. And I'm hoping it'll be live so people in the chat can ask questions.
Oh,
That'll be great.
that would be great. That would be great. We can even potentially do a simulcast live from my side as well, so we
Yes.
can maybe get questions from both ends. Oh, that'd be fantastic. I look
That'll
forward
be
to the
fantastic. So
possibility.
we got to work on that. Yeah, for sure, we'll do that. Well, thank you so
Excellent.
much, everybody. Have a good night, and
Thank
we'll
you.
see you next time. Bye.